A simple way to measure our days is to recognize the fleeting nature of time and the preciousness of each moment. Too often, we allow the hours to pass as though they belong to someone else, as though the world itself demands our attention, while we neglect the self that lives only in the present. To live well, one must first understand that time is the only resource truly our own, yet the one we squander with the greatest ease. Consider the dawn, the rising of the sun, the turning of the seasons, and understand that each day, each hour, each breath is an opportunity given once and never returned. To measure our days, then, is not to count hours or minutes, but to weigh them by the virtue we practice and the clarity with which we perceive life. Many will measure their days by events, by tasks completed, by wealth accumulated, or by the opinions of others. This is a measure most unworthy of a rational being, for what are events but fleeting appearances that vanish into memory? What are possessions but objects we carry lightly while the world may take them from us at any moment? What are opinions but the judgments of those who themselves wander without guidance? True measure lies not in what is added or lost, but in the quality of our engagement with life and the temperance of our soul. Let us ask ourselves, at the close of each day, whether we have acted according to reason, whether we have preserved our composure in the face of adversity, whether we have met others with justice and kindness. These are the weights by which a day should be measured. To live according to this measure, one must cultivate awareness. We must observe the day as it unfolds, noting the trivial and the meaningful alike, but without attachment. When the mind clings to pleasure, it obscures the present. When it dwells on misfortune or regret, it misses the guidance each moment provides. The Stoic does not attempt to control what is beyond his influence, the actions of others, the whims of fate, the course of illness or loss, but he controls the judgment he renders, the virtue he exercises, and the serenity he maintains. Each day is measured by these exercises of the mind, by the discipline with which one shapes impulses into deliberate action, and by the gratitude one feels for what is given, however little. Consider the simplicity of the sun's rise and set. The sun does not worry about the shadows it casts or the clouds that obscure it. It does not complain about the storms that may obscure its light. It fulfills its purpose with constancy and without haste. Our days, too, are to be met with constancy, with the acceptance of what comes and the diligent attention to what we can change. Measure the day by your own endurance, by your calmness in the face of disruption, and by the acts of goodness you perform, whether acknowledged or unseen. When the evening arrives, do not count the hours wasted in idle desire or vain distraction, but count the instances in which your reason guided your behavior, in which your character was strengthened, in which your mind remained free. It is easy to live without reflection, to fill the hours with noise and task as though life is endless. Yet, when the mind awakens to the truth of mortality, one realizes the urgency of the present. Death is not a distant visitor, but a companion that shadows our every moment. To measure our days is to live as if each might be the last, not in fear, but in attentiveness and in accordance with nature. We must practice the discipline of reviewing each day, what we did well, what we could have done better, how we responded to difficulty, how we nurtured patience, courage, and wisdom. This reflection is a mirror for the soul, allowing us to see the accumulation of our choices and to correct the course when we stray from reason. Do not wait for a grand event to mark a day as meaningful. A simple conversation, an honest effort in work, a gesture of kindness, or a refusal to speak in anger can be the measure of a day well lived. Greatness is not found in spectacle, but in consistency. The Stoics remind us that happiness is not external. It does not come from applause or fortune. Happiness comes from the cultivation of virtue, and virtue is measured in each act, in each choice, in each hour that passes consciously rather than lost in distraction. The day, once spent, cannot be retrieved. Therefore, measure it by the excellence of your living, by the extent to which you have honored reason and preserved your tranquility. Consider the body as well, for the day is not only in the mind. The body too obeys laws that we cannot suspend. Sleep, nourishment, movement, and rest mark the rhythms of time and remind us that our days are finite. To measure our days in this Stoic way is to honor these rhythms, to treat the body with respect without allowing it to dictate our values. The body will tire, but the mind can remain awake, attentive, and virtuous. The mind must cultivate endurance, for the day will contain challenges both external and internal. When we meet difficulty with reasoned action rather than passion, we have measured the day successfully. When we resist the pull of envy, resentment, or fear, we have measured the day successfully. When we act in accordance with justice and courage, we have measured the day successfully. Gratitude is part of this measure, to recognize that we are given a day, that we breathe, that we possess the faculties to perceive and act, is to honor time itself. The wise person does not bemoan the brevity of life, but embraces it, knowing that each day contains the seed of reason, the chance to practice virtue, and the opportunity to accept the natural order of things. To measure our days is not to count hours, but to count the presence of our virtue, the serenity we maintain, and the effort to live rightly. This is a measure that no misfortune can diminish, that no wealth can enhance, and that no fame can falsify. Our days are measured too by the care we extend to others. Justice is not an abstract principle. It is expressed in our dealings with friends, strangers, and even adversaries. When we act with fairness, with honesty, and with compassion, we give weight to the hours. When we respond to insult with patience rather than retaliation, we give weight to the hours. When we teach, guide, or encourage, when we refrain from petty complaint, we give weight to the hours. Virtue radiates outward, and the measure of a day includes the ripples of our influence. However small, in the world around us, time will continue, regardless of our recognition or neglect. It is a river that cannot be stopped, a current that sweeps everything along. To live without reflection is to float aimlessly, to allow each day to vanish unmeasured. But to live as a Stoic is to anchor oneself in reason, to weigh each hour, and to place value not on trivialities, but on the cultivation of character. This is the simple way to measure our days, by the quality of our choices, by the discipline of our minds, by the cultivation of virtue, and by the serenity that follows when we live in harmony with nature. Each day becomes not a fleeting shadow, but a brick in the foundation of a life well lived, a life that remains unshaken by fortune and uncorrupted by desire. Reflect, then, upon the beginning of each day. Before action, consider what is within your power and what is not. Let your intentions be clear, your mind steady, your heart aligned with reason. Observe the day as it unfolds, not as a burden to bear, but as an opportunity to exercise patience, courage, justice, and wisdom. When evening comes, review what has been done. Rejoice in what has been rightly done. Accept what has been left undone without lament, and prepare to meet the new day with the same calm vigilance. By this practice, each day is measured, not by clocks or calendars, but by the enduring quality of the life within it. Do not despair when misfortune visits. A day of challenge, of pain, of misunderstanding, or of error is not wasted if it is met with reason. Just as the sun rises after the storm, so too does the mind renew itself with reflection and discipline. Measure the day not by ease or comfort, but by integrity and perseverance. The measure is always within, never dependent on circumstance. The Stoic recognizes that the true value of a day is found in the exercise of virtue, in the mastery of self, and in the alignment of life with the natural order. This is simplicity itself, a day measured by wisdom, a day measured by reason, a day measured by the quiet courage to live rightly. We must also remember that the present is all we truly have. The past is gone, the future uncertain. To dwell on what cannot be changed is to neglect the day. To hope for what may never come is to neglect the day. Each hour offers the chance to act with virtue, to choose rightly, to cultivate tranquility, and to honor reason. In this way, the time itself becomes a mirror of the soul, a reflection of how attentively, courageously, and wisely we live. To measure our days, then, is to live fully, to act justly, to maintain composure, and to cultivate wisdom. This is the art of living according to nature, and it is both simple and profound. One must also consider the inevitability of death, not to dwell morbidly, but to let the awareness of mortality sharpen the mind and clarify the heart. Each day carries within it the finite possibility of an ending. How shall we face it? Shall we allow fear, regret, or anger to cloud our hours? Or shall we measure each day by the virtue we practice, the calm we maintain, and the goodness we extend? Death is not to be feared by one who measures life rightly. It is merely the completion of the journey, a natural conclusion to a sequence of days lived with attention and integrity. By this measure, no day is lost, no effort is wasted, and no life is trivial. Finally, the measure of our days lies in the union of thought and action. To think rightly but do nothing is insufficient. To act without reason is reckless. Each day must harmonize the inner life with outer conduct. The Stoic mind is awake, alert, and deliberate. It does not drift with impulse or habit. It meets each hour with discernment, and each challenge with equanimity. By such a measure, the day is counted, not by the ticking of a clock, but by the awakening of the soul, by the exercise of virtue, by the quiet satisfaction of living rightly. Therefore, when you rise in the morning, pause to consider the gift of another day. When you encounter others, act with justice. When you face difficulty, act with courage. When you are tempted by distraction or desire, act with temperance. When the day ends, review it calmly. Rejoice in what was rightly done. You forgive yourself what was not, and prepare to meet the next day in the same deliberate and attentive manner. This is the simple way to measure our days. It is a practice of mind and heart, a cultivation of virtue, and a recognition of the fleeting yet precious nature of time. Live in this way, and no day is wasted, no moment trivial, and no life unmeasured. A simple way to measure our days is to recognize that each day is a mirror of our soul, and in that reflection, we see the measure of our character. Many live as though time is an endless commodity, yet it slips silently through our fingers. To measure the day is to live deliberately, to observe not the trivial movements of the clock, but the quality of our attention, the steadfastness of our will, and the purity of our judgment. We cannot command the world, nor can we control the whims of fortune, yet we possess the power to shape our mind, to cultivate virtue, and to act with integrity. Thus, a day measured is a day spent in harmony with our nature. Obstacles will always appear. Life is not arranged for ease. It is arranged for practice, for training the soul. If we wish to measure our days by what is virtuous and enduring, we must meet difficulty with discernment. When misfortune arises, the untrained mind resists, complains, and despairs. But the Stoic sees challenge as a teacher, each trial a test of endurance and reason. A simple way to measure our days is to count the moments in which we have met difficulty without losing composure, in which we have acted according to principle rather than impulse. Let the storm rage, let the insult come, let the loss strike. Yet the soul that stands firm is the soul that has measured the day wisely. The day, in this light, is not measured by ease or comfort, but by the courage exercised, the patience maintained, and the reason preserved. Relationships, too, provide a measure of time. We may meet many people, yet the true measure is in the manner of our engagement. To act with justice, to speak with honesty, to listen with presence, and to act with kindness, even in small matters, is to give significance to each hour. A day spent in neglect, in gossip, in anger, or in envy is a day wasted, no matter how busy or accomplished it may appear. Measure your day by the virtue extended to others, by the patience you show, by the guidance you offer, and by the restraint with which you endure irritation. These are not grand acts, but they are the bricks from which the structure of a life well lived is built. The soul is strengthened not by wealth or power, but by each exercise of justice, courage, and moderation. Time in nature also provides a measure. Observe the simplicity of the river flowing, the trees bending in the wind, the clouds passing silently above. Each element acts according to its nature, neither seeking nor resisting, yet fulfilling its role with constancy. There is a lesson here for our days. To measure a day wisely is to align oneself with nature, to act according to reason, to fulfill the duties proper to our existence, and to do so without needless complaint or distraction. Nature is generous, providing sustenance, beauty, and guidance, yet she demands that we live rightly. By observing her, we see that each day is a chance to practice harmony, to cultivate virtue, and to respond with grace to what arises. Our work, whether humble or great, is another measure. The Stoic does not demand applause for effort, nor does he seek praise for duty. Work is to be undertaken with diligence and integrity. A day measured by effort well directed is richer than one filled with idle amusement or frivolous pursuit. Each task, completed with attention and honesty, adds weight to the day. Each duty performed with calm precision, without complaint or desire for recognition, fulfills the principle of living in accordance with reason. Thus, even labor, if undertaken virtuously, becomes a marker of the soul's progress and a means to measure our days. Pleasure and pain provide subtle measures as well. Life is filled with both, yet neither should dictate the measure of a day. When pleasure is indulged without reflection, it can cloud the mind and weaken the spirit. When pain is suffered without discipline, it can corrupt reason and disturb tranquility. The Stoic measures the day by the ability to endure discomfort without resentment, to enjoy pleasure without attachment, and to maintain equanimity regardless of circumstance. Each hour in which the mind remains steady, each decision made in calm judgment, each impulse restrained, is a day measured rightly. The value of life is not found in external events, but in the quality of our internal response to them. Fame, fortune, and external acclaim cannot measure our days. These are fleeting shadows, subject to the whims of fortune and the judgments of others. To measure time by these is to live at the mercy of what is beyond control. The Stoic turns inward, recognizing that the only true measure is virtue, the cultivation of reason, and the maintenance of integrity. A day spent pursuing external approval is wasted. A day spent cultivating wisdom and virtue is rich beyond measure. The external world may shift, fortunes may rise and fall, yet the inner life remains sovereign. By this measure, no adversity can diminish the worth of a day, no praise can increase it, and no loss can render it empty. Mortality sharpens the measure of time. The awareness that life is finite is not to incite fear, but to inspire attentiveness. To live each day as if it were our last is not to live in haste or panic, but to live deliberately, to weigh each choice, and to prioritize what is truly valuable. Each hour offers the chance to practice virtue, to express kindness, to act with integrity, and to cultivate wisdom. The day, measured in this way, becomes not a series of passing moments, but a meaningful unit of life, a reflection of character, and a contribution to the whole of existence. Death is the ultimate teacher, and the recognition of its certainty lends clarity and gravity to each day. Solitude offers another dimension. In quiet reflection, away from distraction and noise, one can review the day and measure it honestly. What have I done well? Where have I faltered? Have I acted with patience and justice? Have I maintained courage in difficulty? Have I nurtured wisdom and clarity of mind? This daily self-examination is not self-reproach but honest accounting, a mirror in which the soul may see its own image. Through this practice, the day is measured not by external events but by internal progress. Each reflection strengthens the mind, clarifies priorities, and deepens the capacity for virtue. The passage of time can be deceptive. Hours seem long in suffering, yet fly in pleasure. Days may pass unnoticed if filled with distraction, yet a single moment of reasoned reflection can illuminate a lifetime. Thus, a simple way to measure our days is to note the constancy of our attention, the presence of our virtue, and the clarity of our judgment. Do we act impulsively or with deliberation? Do we allow the mind to wander in triviality or focus on what is truly significant? The measure of the day is not found in quantity of experience, but in quality of engagement, in depth of thought, and in steadfastness of character. Memory provides perspective. At day's end, consider not only what occurred, but how you acted. Did you respond with reason, patience, and courage? Did you act with justice and moderation? Did you nurture others, or squander opportunities for kindness? Each act becomes a measure, a reflection of the soul's capacity. The Stoic mind recalls the day not as a series of events, but as a sequence of choices, each revealing the extent to which reason, virtue, and tranquility were exercised. Memory, then, is not mere recollection but a scale upon which the day is weighed, revealing both successes and lessons for improvement. Even the smallest acts carry weight. A word spoken kindly, a deed done without expectation, a moment of patience or restraint, these are the measures of days that matter. Greatness is not in grandeur, but in consistency. A day measured by virtue, however quietly, is richer than one spent in pomp or distraction. The Stoic sees value in subtlety, in the alignment of mind and action, and in the attention given to even the smallest opportunity for right living. By this standard, each day is measurable and meaningful, each hour a testament to the soul's discipline, and each moment an opportunity for excellence. The body, too, reminds us of time. It requires care and respect, yet it should not dominate the mind. Health, strength, and rest are necessary, but the day is measured by the use of the mind in harmony with the body. Discipline of appetite, moderation in pleasure, and endurance in discomfort strengthen the capacity to measure life rightly. Each day presents occasions to act with self-control, to temper desire, and to endure difficulty. Through these exercises, the hours are counted not in minutes, but in virtue, and the measure of a day is revealed in the mastery of self. Practice, repetition, and reflection transform days into a life of value. One day measured by reason and virtue is a step toward a life well lived. Each subsequent day builds upon the last, forming a continuity of character and integrity. The Stoic does not wait for extraordinary events to mark the passage of time. Rather, the ordinary, lived rightly, becomes the measure of existence. A life is the sum of its days, and the quality of each day determines the worth of the whole. By this measure, time is neither feared nor wasted, but embraced as a medium for practice, reflection, and growth.